and I've done this so I can talk about it with authority. Whatever you don't solve in your first marriage will show up in the next marriage, and you got to deal with it. And if you don't deal with it, you'll find it in the third marriage, the fourth marriage, and you'll keep going on until it catches up with you. But because what needs to happen is you didn't change in the first one, you went to the second one, and you think she's the problem or he's the problem, and you find out he's got a problem here too. So you move to the next one and you keep moving around until you get to the realization that, I'm the common denominator here. I really need to fix this. And when you do, all of a sudden you have a relationship that works. And you one is like, hey, they went through 5 marriages before they finally got it right. Yeah. But people don't want to hear that. But for those who are looking for hope, who wants a difference, who wants to hear it and see it, that's what they need to hear. God's got a solution. The solution works. The problem is we don't know how to work it. And in all honesty, a lot of us, we don't know how to have a marriage. And the reason why we don't know how to have a marriage is because we're doing what we saw our parents do, right? And
Yeah.
we lived with them. We weren't happy with how they did things, but when you're in a pinch, you're going to default to what you know. And therein lies the problem. And I'm going to, I better stop because you get me on a roll, girl.
I'm getting a whole sermon over here. But to your point, we're going to revert to what we know,
Yeah,
and if that's going to be, that's our programming, that's what we grow up with. And is
yeah,
that where, like, well, question slash comment, is that the whole generational curse
yes,
aspect of things?
yes, it is.
The doors we
Because,
open, or our parents open, that the things that they don't resolve because we experience it, it comes down to us.
yeah, because like right now, I mean, like I talk to my son, I'm saying, son, you have to understand. I'm understanding things now that I didn't when I was younger and growing him up. And now I'm trying to educate him. You need to get a hold of this because this is a generational curse in the family because I can see the pattern.
Mhm.
So now I'm trying to say we need to break this pattern. And you can break. Here's the thing. I love how God does things. He gives us solutions for whatever we're faced with. You can break the curses, but you got to be willing to acknowledge them.
Mhm.
Most people aren't willing to go seeking. If you're struggling with something over and it's consistent over and over and over again, if you struggle with it, your dad struggled with it, your parents struggle with it, chances are it's being passed on to you. Go ask God to break it,
Mhm.
and He'll show you how. And the thing about like what I was just saying about habits, He'll teach you how to change your habit, and then you can teach your children, and then you've broken it.
Oh,
But
that's cool.
if you don't go and ask, you're not going to. Ask him, because you don't know. I don't know what agreements my dad made, but those agreements passed on to me.
Mhm.
So now I'm asking the Lord to break those agreements, whatever those agreements were. Or it's easy if you look into your life and you see the recurrent thing, that's usually some form of agreement somewhere. And sometimes it's agreement we've made because the devil's convinced us, oh, you're never going to get any better. This is never going to work. And you agree, this will never work. And it's a lie.
Yeah.
You made an agreement. God says what's going to work. And when you put your faith in that, it always will. And yeah, there's a lot of things get passed on. And there's the good and the bad, right?
Mhm.
So we have the good blessings from them, but there's curses there because unless they've walked with God, now you can see in families where they've walked with God for generations, where you have parents and grandparents and parents who walked with the Lord, okay, it's a little different. Life is different because you there's a lot of good habits that's passed along. There's longevity, there's better relationships, there's better marriages, um, because they pass along all the blessings they've been taught, the principles and stuff like that. And so there's a stronger family bond. But in today's world, there's a lot of dysfunctions. There's a lot of dysfunctional families. There's a lot of marriage out of wedlock, which kind of screws the child up. There's a lot of imbalance. And, we have a world that does not respect boundaries. And, it's a rough scenario.